Bank robber falls in love with his witness despite his accomplice's warning. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a crime action from 2010 titled The Town. The movie takes place in Boston, where a man named Doug McRae explains their heist plan to his best friends, James Coughlin, Albert McGlone, and Desmond Eldon. While a bank's armored vehicle is parked at the curb, the team jumps out of the decoy van and into the bank as one of the guards enters, armed and disguised with skeleton masks. Everyone is made to stay on the ground and away from any electronics that could alert the police. James searches through the teller's drawers for cash, while being cautious not to take any that contain hidden die packs and tracers, while one of them gets the bank vault's key from a security guard. In the security room, Desmond disables the CCTV recordings and destroys them before they lock the front door with a cable tie. The team waits until the scheduled time for the guard to enter the vault. Then they instruct Claire Kesey, the assistant branch manager, to open the vault door. Seeing her distress, Doug gently holds her hand, advising her to remain calm and take her time, as her nerves hinder her from unlocking the door. On her subsequent attempt, she manages to open it. Doug then proceeds into the vault, gathering cash into his bag. The team's attention is momentarily diverted when a bank customer tries to enter from the outside, pushing against the barred front door. Seizing the opportunity, Claire subtly activates the silent alarm with her foot. Soon after, Desmond alerts the team that the alarm has been triggered, causing James to confront the branch manager in a fit of rage. Doug quickly steps in to defuse the situation. During the turmoil, Claire discreetly observes a tattoo on the back of James's neck. As they get ready to flee, the team douses everything they've touched with bleach to eliminate traces of their presence. Worried the police will catch them, James takes Claire with them as hostage. They tied her wrists and blindfolded her before putting her in the back of the van. Doug tells her that they won't hurt her, and then they leave her on a beach and tell her not to take off her blindfold until she walks forward and feels the water on her feet. Meanwhile, at the bank, FBI Special Agents Dino Clampa and Adam Frawley are called to the scene. It seems that the team has done a clean robbery, leaving no evidence to track them. The FBI finds the gang's getaway van, which has been burned to hide their track. The agents assume that they're dealing with a new gang of grand thieves because the ones they know of are either in prison or they're dead. In an abandoned hockey rink, the team meets up to discuss their further actions. James mentions that he thinks Claire could be a problem because she lives in the neighborhood, as stated in her driver's license. Because she might recognize them if they cross paths again, James wants to kill her, but Doug snatches her license and reassures the gang he will deal with her personally. Meanwhile, in the FBI's office, Claire shows up to give a statement about the robbery and her kidnapping. She says that they stole her license and threatened her life if she came to the police, but she doesn't tell them about James's tattoos, despite Adam's question about distinguishing marks. She is surprised when Adam tells her that 98% of bank robbers come from the Charlestown neighborhood, since that's where she lives. He eventually lets her leave the office after giving her his business card and assuring her that she'll be given protection. The gang's next move is to launder the stolen money through various ways so they don't get caught. It seems like Doug is tired of the criminal life, going so far as becoming sober and drinking juice while his friends drink beer. His girlfriend and James's sister, Krista Coughlin, come in to annoy him with a story of her fight. All of this puts a strain on Doug's mind, causing him to lose sleep. The following day, Doug discreetly observes Claire as she does her laundry at a laundromat. Claire approaches him, asking if she could borrow some change, to which he responds that he doesn't have any. Suddenly, she recalls the traumatic events of the robbery and tears up. Concerned, Doug inquires if she's all right. To distract her from her distress, he invites her out for coffee. They head to a restaurant where Doug shares stories about his passion for hockey and crafts an improvised backstory about himself. Claire mentions she relocated to Charlestown from a town where owning a boat is considered a status symbol. Feeling a connection with her, Doug invites Claire to continue their date on a boat belonging to one of his friends. The next day, Doug meets up with James at a diner. He deceives James regarding his relationship with Claire, assuring him that she hasn't revealed any pertinent information and implies that there's no need to harm her. Back to the FBI agents, they gain more information about the gang from a drug addict named Henry. He says that the gang turned off the vault alarm through the junction box outside the bank, so the agents go to investigate as it's being fixed. They figure out that one of the gang members must work for Vericom, the company that makes the junction box, and may have called in sick when the robbery happened. While Doug is out with Claire on another date, he finds out that she talked to the police, although she didn't mention James's tattoo. He also finds out that the FBI agents haven't figured out their identity yet. The two then go to the hospital to visit the injured branch manager of the bank, making Doug remorseful about his crime. While walking Claire home, he sees her damaged car, which she admits was caused by some of the neighborhood vandals that have been harassing her. Doug gets their description and asks James to help him find them, not to mention that they're helping Claire. After finding the men's address, they break in with hockey masks and bats. The vandals get beaten up before Doug spreads some cocaine around the room to make it look like a drug deal gone wrong before they leave. The agents have pinpointed Desmond, who works as a systems tech operator for Vericom. They note his absence on the day of the robbery and on other occasions when various banks and armored vehicles were hit. Surveillance on Desmond yields photographs of him associating with the rest of the gang. The FBI looks into the other members, finding out that James had shot a boy when he was 18. Albert is an infamous car thief, and Doug is the son of an imprisoned bank robber. They speculate that Doe is the mastermind of the gang and started robbing banks after he was kicked out of a pro hockey team. Sometime later, during a date, Doug and Claire are interrupted when James unexpectedly appears. Doug had lied to James about Claire, and when she excuses herself to the restroom, James confronts Doug. On her return, Doug makes an effort to hide the identifying tattoo on James until he departs. After their date, Doug finds himself in a heated argument with James. James accuses Doug of being involved with a witness, while Doug is furious at James for tailing him. This dispute eventually extends to the plans for their upcoming heist. Doug agrees to participate, but only if it's their last for a significant period. Later on, Doug visits his incarcerated father, and then gears up for the next job with his crew. The target, an armored bank truck. They set up an ambush at the designated location, their van filled with gasoline jugs, but soon realize the truck is delayed. While circling the block to avoid drawing attention, they spot the armored truck as it comes to a halt. Albert positions the van adjacent to the truck, and then Doug and James spring into action, assaulting the guards. They forcefully gain entry into the truck and begin loading cash into their bags. As they're working, Albert catches a broadcast of the robbery over his police scanner and urges his team to hurry. Suddenly, one of the truck drivers takes Doug hostage, pressing a gun against his back. In response, James shoots the driver, allowing the crew to speed away with their loot. However, their escape is short-lived as a police car spots them and gives chase, quickly backed up by additional squad cars. Albert attempts to outmaneuver the police, but a bold move by one of the patrol cars causes him to lose control of the van. Two police cars pull up alongside the gang's van, with officers demanding they exit the vehicle. Without hesitation, James and Doug open fire, initiating a fierce shootout. Meanwhile, Albert maneuvers the van around the police blockade. As one police car pursues them, another suddenly joins the chase, sideswiping the van. Just when the situation seems dire, Desmond appears driving a Jeep, blocking both the police cars and the van. With the officers temporarily held at bay by James's gunfire, Doug swiftly transfers the money to the Jeep. He then douses the van in gasoline and sets it alight with a tossed cigarette to cover their tracks. As the van erupts in flames, the crew scrambles into the Jeep and speeds off. Aiming to escape using the Charlestown Bridge, they overhear on the police scanner that law enforcement plans to set up a blockade at the bridge's end. Determined to evade capture, Albert accelerates, taking sharp turns and shortcuts, hoping to cross the bridge before the police can intercept them. In Charlestown, they park the Jeep and scatter hair, sourced from a local barbershop, to throw off any subsequent investigations. As they're transferring the money and equipment to another vehicle, they notice a police officer parked across the street observing them. However, valuing his own life, the officer pretends not to recognize the gang, allowing them to switch vehicles without incident. At the sight of the torched van, the FBI conducts their investigation. Adam grows frustrated by the lack of concrete evidence to pin the crime on the gang. Despite this, he instructs the police to detain them for questioning. However, he underestimates the gang's cunning, as each member manages to remain tight-lipped about the operation. Left with no choice, Adam reluctantly releases them. Before they depart, he sternly warns Doug that he'll go to great lengths to bring the gang to justice. Sometime later, James approaches Doug with a proposal for another heist. Initially, Doug declines, but when the local crime boss threatens Claire's life, Doug agrees. Doug and James enter a bank disguised as police officers, while Desmond works on disabling the security system. Posing as if responding to a 911 call, they quickly overpower the security guards and restrain them. The two then persuaded bank employees to grant them access to the vault. Once inside, they seize $3 million. Their escape strategy involves transferring the money to an ambulance, which serves as their getaway vehicle. After changing into paramedic uniforms, they suddenly find themselves surrounded by police. Tensions peak when the SWAT team advances into the garage where they're stationed. In the chaos, Desmond is fatally shot. To divert attention and create an escape path, Albert rams the ambulance into the police's mobile command center, enabling Doug and James to avoid capture. The pair swiftly revert to their police disguises, seamlessly blending in with the real officers, and then discreetly part ways. Their plan was almost a success, but Adam figured out what they were up to and decided to search the area. He and Dino spot a cop leaving the scene with a duffel bag, who is actually James in disguise. Adam follows him to a parking lot and calls out to James before the robber shoots at him. After pinning him down, James manages to escape until the agent gets back up and starts chasing him. James is surrounded by more cops as he keeps firing his gun, causing a fierce shootout while Doug can only watch from a distance. Adam finally shoots James in the leg with a shotgun, forcing James to hide behind a mailbox while he thinks of a new plan. After Adam urges him to surrender, James empties his gun on a police car before he comes out to turn himself in. Instead, he gets shot many times by several officers, eventually falling dead, while Doug sneaks into a police car and drives away unnoticed. On the way back, Doug goes to Fergus's place and kills his bodyguard before he gets into a shootout with Fergus. After killing the crime boss, James calls Claire from a house near hers and tells her to come with him. Though he can already see her in a room with the FBI agents, Claire tells him a code that signals this fact since she doesn't know that he's watching. In the end, Doug pretends to be a bus driver and rides a train heading south. Adam knows that Doug won't come when he realizes that Claire gave Doug a warning, so he leaves the house only to find a note from Doug that makes fun of him. The movie ends with Claire digging up a bag while she's gardening. In it, there's money, a tangerine, and a note from Doug that says she can use the money better than he ever can, and that they might meet again someday. Claire ends up donating the money to renovate the local hockey rink where Doug used to play in his pro hockey days. Meanwhile, Doug is now safe in Florida, though he seems to deeply miss the possibility of reuniting with Claire. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.